Welcome to the Michael in the Morning podcast for Wednesday, December 20th. Normally at this point in the podcast, I would urge you to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher so that every morning when you're headed for work or for your workout, you've got this kind of update on what's going to be hot in the day's news. But what is the point of urging you to subscribe to a future podcast when this, in fact, may be the final podcast or really the final anything? Why? Let's ask Nancy Pelosi.
At this news conference and on the floor, Democrats talk about this bill often in very apocalyptic terms, but isn't really what's going on is that many people are getting a very modest tax cut and some people are getting a tax increase while a lot of this is also going to business, but it's not the end of the world?
No, it is the end of the world. This healthcare, the debate on healthcare is life, death. This is Armageddon.
That's right. Armageddon. Armageddon, the apocalypse, they are upon us. We are doomed. Please, please, listen to the throngs of the crowds in the audience.
Kill the bills! Don't kill us! Kill the bills! Don't kill us! Kill the bills! Kill the bills! Kill the bills!
Please, Republicans, don't kill us. Please don't use your different treatment of pass-through income for LLCs to kill us, please. Please don't let your lowering of marginal tax rates on modest income earners from 15% to 12% kill us, please. We're doomed. Oh, it's all over. Democracy is over. We've destroyed the country.
This GOP tax scam is simply theft. Monumental, brazen theft. It is a vote to install a permanent plutocracy in our nation. It does violence to the vision of our founders. It disrespects the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform and betrays the aspirations of our children. It morally demands a no vote from every member of this House.
We finally really did it. You maniacs! You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell!
Thank you, Charlton Heston. That's right. It's the apocalypse. It's all over. Look, I would normally, under normal circumstances, I would not do this to you because it's just too mean-spirited and unfair. But I have to inflict a significant amount of Elizabeth Warren on you this morning. I'm in Massachusetts, so I get a big dose of her. But her speech last night, I did CBSN, which is, by the way, great product. If you're looking for, professional, good-looking, reasonably unbiased news coverage in the world of mainstream media, CBSN, great product. And so they had me on with Molly Hooper from The Hill last night as the Senate was debating. And we were cutting in and out of, speeches on the Senate floor. And yes, unfortunately, if you watched the media last night, you saw that almost all the speeches that were excerpted, anything you saw, it pretty much was always someone attacking. It was always Democrats talking. Very little of anyone else. A little bit of Ted Cruz got out there, but that was not much. And it was hard for me to maintain my composure because my job when I do these TV shows is to let viewers who don't hear a lot from conservative media know what I'm hearing from conservatives, from people like you, from my listeners, from in the conservative media, just the other arguments that are going on that they don't hear very often. Well, because that's where I get a lot of my information. I don't pay that much attention to Liz Warren. Last night I'm sitting there, which kind of a trapped audience, and I listened to her speech, and the whole thing is on YouTube. I was open-mouthed listening to her. And so I thought I would share some of the highlights with you to let you know why it is that so many people think this is an apocalypse. I have a daughter who's in college. I have a smart daughter who writes and works in film in college. And I picked her up at the airport last night, came home for Christmas. And like the first thing was, oh my God, this tax bill. And she starts talking about it. And I'm like, I realized you have virtually no factual information, do you? And she's parroting back, what she hears in the media. And so here is what we're supposed to take seriously as criticism of the apocalyptic tax bill that President Trump will be signing today after the House does a revote, which is, by the way, no big deal. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's just too small of a deal. Here's Liz Warren speaking for a frightening number of Americans.
It is a terrible day for millions of hardworking people, but it is a great day for giant multinational corporations and billionaires who fund Republican campaigns across this country. Today is their day. Every fundraiser, every fat check from a billionaire, and every champagne and caviar party has been about getting to this day, the day when the politicians that they put in charge of Washington would pay them back with a $1.5 trillion giveaway.
So let's start there. So billionaires and fat cats having champagne and caviar as they steal from the American people with this giveaway. I mean, how cartoon? I mean, this is one step away from, twirling your wax mustache as you lay the taxpayer bound and roped down on the train. You must pay the tax. I can't pay the tax. You must pay the tax. I can't pay the tax. I mean, it's embarrassingly cartoonish. And watch that word giveaway, because I heard it all night long last night.
Now, supporters of this bill call it tax reform. It's not tax reform. It is a heist that steals from millions of middle-class families and hands that money over to the wealthy. A heist that will hurt Medicare and Social Security and reduce health care coverage by 13 million people in order to hand over money to giant corporations that are already rolling in profits. A heist that will hurt our economy and blow a hole in our national debt.
Got that? It's a heist. It's theft. The Republicans passed a bill that involves going to the homes of middle-class people, stealing their stuff, loading it onto a truck, keep the word truck in mind, and driving it over to the Koch brothers' house and dumping it on their lawn. We have done your work. Your minions, my masters, have dumped your work as we steal this money. I mean, think about how stupid that is. This isn't just, I really don't like it. I don't think it'll work. I think this is bad, economics. The tax, the middle class doesn't get a big enough tax cut. The rich get too big of a tax cut. I mean, we can debate all that. That's sane debating. But when you say wildly crazy stuff that this is taking any money from anyone in the middle class, it's just not true. It's not taking any money from anybody. It's just cutting taxes. Okay, I guess you could argue that there are some people who, because of the tax wheelhouse they're in and losing some deductions, they end up paying more taxes. So that tiny handful of people will be paying more taxes. They're all rich. They're all in the top, certainly in the top 25%, and most of them are in the top 5%. Why? Because the top 5% pay 60% of the taxes. The first half of all taxpayers pay virtually zero. But there is no transfer. There's no heist. There's no theft. That is a blatant lie. It's a tax cut. You can say it doesn't cut the right people, but it's a tax cut. The claim that 13 million people are going to have their health care taken away is a blatant lie. All that's happening is that they're not being required to buy it. And so there's an estimate that if you don't make them buy it by punishing them with a tax, 13 million people say, this sucks, it's too expensive, I hate it, I don't want to buy it. Those are the facts. And once again, just to say that, and the CBO estimates that 13 million people will go without insurance after this bill passes, whatever. Totally reasonable. This is not even close to reasonable. This is insanity.
The American people have seen through this scam. They see through every lie that's been pushed forward. They know that this bill doesn't provide middle-class tax relief. It ultimately raises taxes on more than 60% of working families in this country.
This is why people like Mark Hemingway at the Weekly Standard and I hate PolitiFact.org. I mean, where is the fact check on this? This going to raise taxes on this is, Do you know the facts? Do you want the facts? The individual tax changes, the tax cuts, have a 10-year phase out because of the rules of passing this through reconciliation. So, yeah, 10 years from now, assuming that this tax cut ends, then taxes will go up. If the tax cut ends, which is admitting that it's cutting taxes for the same 60% of the taxpayers you just said we're stealing from. Because somebody, please, seriously, just basic fact checking. Come on.
Those CEOs have told everyone who would listen that when they get their truckloads of money from the GOP tax bill, they will turn right around and funnel that money to their wealthy shareholders. And they know that this bill isn't even to help Americans. A third of those shareholders who will get truckloads of money from the GOP bill don't even live in the United States.
Truckloads of money. Truckloads of money. The truck pulls up. We dump in money out of the mint, those big sheets of it that the Mnuchins use to wrap their Christmas presents. We just dump it in, drive it over to rich people's houses, and just dump it on them. And some of them are foreigners. You ever notice that? They look kind of swarthy to me, right, Liz? Do they have high cheekbones? Oh, wait, no, that's the Native Americans. Anyway, truckloads of money. No, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. The bottom 50% who pay no federal taxes are somehow giving truckloads of somebody's money to people by not taking it from them. How is not taking my money giving me something? How is not taking my money a giveaway or a heist or a theft or a truckload? What happened? I woke up today, went to work. You didn't take my money. I must have stolen something. And a frightening number of people believe this because there's so little blowback. There's so little confrontation with just facts and common sense. And the media, this once again, how you get Trump, how the label fake news sticks. It takes about 4 seconds for me to say the sentence that makes people go, oh, yeah, well, you're right. I mean, that's just crazy. Because it's crazy.
Now, there's only one principle left. Reward billionaire campaign donors. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is not a partisan attack.
When I say that Republicans will be going down to the bank and breaking into the vault and stealing your kid's college fund from you, middle-class, blue-collar worker, and giving it to Mr. and Mrs. Legree of Richie Rich Rich Way, that's not a conspiracy theory. And I'm not being partisan at all when I say that the Republicans are trying to steal from you and kill America. Don't fall for the conspiracy that causes you to believe that's a conspiracy theory. You know, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean that we're not destroying America in an apocalypse. And, you know, there are like 5 billionaires. Oh, okay, I guess there's more. What are there, 50 billionaires in America? So the Republicans lock up, and I'd be willing to bet that a majority of them vote Democrat. The Tom Steyer, George Soros types who are giving money to Liz Warren and to, the far left cause. But even if you owned all the billionaire votes, that's nothing. Billionaires don't elect people. Real live normal voters elect people. And you know what, Liz? Millions and millions of voters turned out in 2010 and 2014 and 2016 to elect a Republican House, Senate, and White House. And that's why we are where we are, because democracy works. You just don't like the results. And you think people are stupid. And so you treat them like they're stupid by talking to them like they're going to believe your stupidity and then proposing laws that say you're too stupid to handle your own bank account, to handle your retirement fund, to handle your own money, to make your own healthcare decisions. So, hey, moron, we got to take care of you. So I guess if you think Americans are stupid enough to believe these words coming out of your mouth, then they're stupid enough to need someone like you to live their lives for them and tell them what to do.
But today, the politicians who run Congress will slash corporate taxes even more and shift even more of the burden onto working families. Working people will pay more so that giant corporations can pay less.
Okay, serious question. Do I even have to explain that that's totally false? I mean, you know that's false, right? You know, we've already broken down the who pays what. Well, the Cato Institute pulled out some numbers from the Joint Committee on Taxation just yesterday. Chris Edwards posted this at cato.org. And what they break down are So, what percentage of the federal income tax bill do you end up paying when the Republican bill goes through? So, for example, the people who earn $40,000 to $50,000 a year right now pay about $11.9 billion worth of the total federal income tax outlay, which is about $2 trillion. They're instead going to pay $6.7 billion less. In other words, they get a 56.3% tax cut. That group of people. Now, admittedly, that's a pretty big group of people, so your slice of that's going to be relatively small. But as far as the size of the actual tax pie, they are going to pay 56% less of the federal income tax bill under this new plan. So no, you're not shifting anything on the 40 and 50 to 50,000 owners. That's a total lie. You're taking more than half of their burden away. And then you roll up through people earning between $100,000 and $200,000. They're going to pay about 15% less of the total federal tax bill. So the people earning 40 to 50 get 56% less. The people earning 100 to 200 only get 14.8% less. The people $1 million and over, their tax burden only goes down 6%. Now, once again, there are fewer of them, and they pay a lot of money, so the chunk of money is bigger, yeah, but they're the ones paying the taxes. By the only measure that matters, we all order a pizza together. There are 10 of us. One guy earns, the less, one guy earns the most. How much of the pizza am I paying for? The people who earn $100,000 or less are paying far less for the pizza after the bill passes than they were before. While the guy at the top, even though the whole pizza's cheaper because it's a tax cut, he's still stuck with most of the bill. That's what really happened. And Liz Warren knows it. She's not an idiot. She can do basic math. This is just shameless lying.
People's anger is understandable. I share it. And sooner or later, a reckoning is coming. And I promise you this, when it does, when the politicians who lead this Congress and vote for this tax heist are held accountable, then we will be the kind of country we were meant to be. A democracy where everyone, even the richest and the most powerful, pay a fair share.
And when that glorious day comes, when the proletariat rises up, the millionaires and billionaires and their fat cats and their champagnes will be swinging from the trees. We shall take to the streets. Das Fiat Revolutia, my friends. Das Fiat Revolutia. That is the future of the Democratic Party. And that's how you got Trump.